Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Allahumma ja'alni min ibadika al-mukhlasin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wanted to start off with a point that's important for Muslims and non-Muslims alike, and that's that Islam is a religion that elevates people regardless of their color, regardless of their gender, regardless of the language they speak, regardless of all things. And as Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to say, the only thing that makes one man, one woman, a child, anyone better than another person is the level of taqwa they have, how much they fear Allah inside their heart. So the Sahabi I wanted to talk to you about today is a man who before embracing Islam, no one knew his name, no one cared what his name was because of the color of his skin. And after he embraced Islam, he was tortured, the worst kinds of tortures because of his religion. They used to take him out in the middle of the day, put him in the boiling sand, and put a huge boulder, a crushing boulder on his chest. They used to wrap a rope around his throat and drag him throughout the streets of Mecca. All because he said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. It was only after he embraced Islam that he received nobility, honor, and dignity. And till this day, if you ask any child around the world, who is this man, they will tell you, this is the mu'adhin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Bilal ibn Al-Habashi radiyallahu anhu. So, one time Bilal and Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhuma were sitting and having a conversation when Bilal corrected something that Abu Dharr said. Angrily, Abu Dharr got up and he said, "You correct me, O son of a black woman?" Now, Bilal could have given multiple responses here. He could have said something similar to Abu Dharr. He could have initiated physicality, but instead he walked away because he understood what it meant when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ليس الشديد بالسرعة إنما الشديد الذي يملك نفسه عند الغضب. The strong is not the one who can overpower others. The strong is the one who can control himself when he's overtaken by anger, when he's overtaken by rage. So Bilal gets up and he goes and tells Rasulullah about the incident. And upon hearing it, Rasulullah calls for Abu Dharr. And when Abu Dharr arrives and Sayyidina Muhammad tells him that, Ya Abu Dharr, innaka mru'un fika jahiliya. Ya, oh Abu Dharr, you are a man who still has ignorance. Immediately, Abu Dharr, realizing the greatness of his mistake, he rushes, he runs out, finds Bilal, bows down before him, putting his face on the ground and says, "O Bilal, I will not move from this position until you step on my head." Bilal, being the great man that he is, helps Abu Dharr up and says, "Ya Abu Dharr, a face that prostrates to Allah deserves a kiss," and he kisses him on his face. Earlier today, I was watching a video on YouTube, and when I scrolled down, a lecture, an Islamic lecture, and when I scrolled down, I found a lot of hate comments. A lot of hate comments. And what disturbed me more than the hate comments was the response of the Muslims to these comments. Not just the youth, but the adults. And please don't limit what I'm saying to just YouTube. This goes whether you're on YouTube, whether you're at the mall, whether you're at school, work, wherever you are. You could be walking down the street, someone will stick their head out of the car and shout out something like, they'll call you a terrorist, and you'll lose your cool, you'll start screaming and yelling at them. And we're in this Western society as da'is, callers to Islam. Bilal, when he embraced Islam, he asked Rasulullah, he said, "Ya Rasulullah, what is my job?" And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam responds by saying, "Your job is my job." So Bilal says, "What is your job, Ya Rasulullah?" And Sayyidina Muhammad says, "My job is to call people to Islam." Now, you need to realize that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the greatest da'i to ever walk on the face of the earth. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him? He says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلَكَ. And if you were rude in speech and rough in the heart, they would have fled from amongst you. And this is talking about the Sahaba, the greatest people to ever walk on the face of the earth. Who are we dealing with? We are dealing with people who don't believe, they don't even care. So we need to be 1,000,000 times nicer to these people than Sayyidina Muhammad was towards the Sahaba, so that they could understand our religion. Because when you yell at them, when you swear at them, you're only doing two things. The first, you're making them hate us more, and the second, you're making them understand us less. So I want to mention one thing. Sayyidina Muhammad and Allah sallallahu alayhi wa subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will never address an issue without giving us the solutions. And I want to discuss 3 solutions with you today. The first is the isti'adha billah. Sayyidina Muhammad, once a man became very infuriated in front of him. So Sayyidina Muhammad said to the Sahaba, "Shall I tell you some words that if he says, the anger will flee from him?" And they said, "Yes, Ya Rasulullah." He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Because if you mention Allah, your fear of Allah overtakes your anger. The second thing is to make wudu. Because to make ablution. Because Sayyidina Muhammad says, the devil is made of fire. And water extinguishes fire. So if you make wudu, the shaitan will run away, inshallah. And the third thing is something Sayyidina Muhammad told us about 1400 years ago, and NLP researchers are backing up now, and that's that changing your position. Sayyidina Muhammad says, if you become angry while you're standing, sit down. And if you are sitting, lay down. There are many wisdoms behind this, but I'm going to tell you about two. The first one is that if you change your position, if you're angry and you want to hit someone, and you sit down, you're out of reach, you're less likely to hit them. The second, and the other thing is that researchers are saying, if you change your position, if you are angry, if you're in any mood, and you change your position immediately, it'll change your mood. You won't be angry anymore. So let's inshallah work on this together so that after Ramadan we can all come out as better people who can control our anger. If you are able to control your anger in a situation, please comment on this video telling us about the events so that people will be inspired to control their anger as well and share their stories, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us, to give us the patience of the Sahaba, to give us the patience of Sayyidina Bilal radiyallahu anhum, and to help us control our anger. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Also, please, when you go to Islamic events, when you go to a public washroom, clean up after yourself. Don't leave the water falling over the edge of the counter, because people are going to start hating us left and right, and that's also something that we don't want to do. Assalamu alaikum.